There's a Chuck Norris movie where there's like a lumberjack cutting down a tree.
Well, no, with a chainsaw.
Yeah, with a chainsaw. And then like Chuck Norris like taps him and he like brings up the chainsaw and he stops the chainsaw with his hand and like chops him.
No, he didn't chop him. The guy just ran away in fear.
Oh, that was it? I don't remember. I just remember he grabbed the chainsaw. I was like,
no,
really?
He had the power to turn into animals of the forest. So he would turn into like a squirrel and a bear. And
Manimal.
Wait, that was an actual movie?
That's a real movie.
Oh my goodness, we need to start discovering some of this old Chuck Norris.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's some comedic gold there, I would think.
Like that Steven Seagal Vampire Hunter movie.
Oh
on
yeah.
Netflix.
I want to watch Exit Wounds. That's him and DMX, right?
Oh no, you don't want to watch it.
That's when Steven Seagal went hood.
When Steven Seagal went hood.
He barely went cul-de-sac with that one.
Welcome to That's Alt, a show where a group of junkies get together and talk about movies, TV, and video games. I'm your host, Brian McBalls. Here with me today, I have JD.
I don't got a problem.
We have Alex, Boss Ness Monster.
What's up?
And Jordan Wade.
Hey.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is Jack Slater.
This hero stuff has its limits.
Today's topic, we're talking about the iconic 80s, 90s action hero and where they are today, if they even exist. And I guess we'll shoot you the first question, Jordan.
All right.
And do you think that in modern film today, do we have an action hero anymore? Or is this a thing of the past?
Well, we have modern action stars, not in the same sense that they were like in the 80s and early 90s and stuff like that. I mean, you have stars that movie studios are trying to make an action stars. You have Sam Worthington was a hot name a few years ago. Of course, he was in Avatar and Clash of the Titans, Wrath of the Titans, and Terminator Salvation. So I mean, he was in quite a few action films there for a bit. And then you got the Hemsworth brothers, both Chris and Liam. Chris is obviously in more films than Liam, but Liam was in Expendables too. And then I would say like Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson would probably be two other ones. I mean, they consistently produced action films, but there's nobody on the same scale as like a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone or even, well, even to a lesser extent, Van Damme. So not in the same sense, but yes, they are there. It's just not that big. So
yeah, because if you guys recall, in the 80s, 90s, they had action stars, like people who would sell movies just because they're in them. And that was, Stallone, Arnold, like you listed, Van Damme, even like Bruce Willis, Seagal to a lesser extent.
Yeah. And
it was like action heroes, and they were buff, and they kicked a lot of ass in their movies, and people went and saw them.
And wore cool shades.
Exactly.
They did wear cool shades and tank tops.
So I guess Jordan, who would you say was your favorite action hero from the 80s and 90s?
My favorite action hero in the 90s, it was always Schwarzenegger. He always sold movies, even though I was a little young, and I would even say like, hey, he's in Twins. How did that happen? And that's not even an action film, but I watched it. Mm-hmm. He sold movies because he was in an action genre. Commando, later on down Total Recall, stuff
Junior.
like that. Junior. Yeah.
I watched
heart-wrenching.
That's an awful movie.
It's awesome, man. He has a kid.
But even...
He births a child.
Birth assist. But I mean, even just action in general. Even watching Jackie Chan sold films just because he was in it. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Stephen Chow. I found Stephen Chow later in his years, but he was in that action genre. He sold stuff for me. You don't get that too much anymore.
Yeah. How about you, Alex? Did you have a favorite growing up?
I mean, growing up, I would probably say Stallone, just because I was a kid and I was like big into like Rambo a little bit. But it was like I think with him, his whole thing was he could make anything an action movie. Like he even had like Over the Top. It was a movie about arm wrestling. How the hell is a movie about arm wrestling action? And yet I sat and watched that movie I don't know how many
The
times.
most like epic poster ever. Of him like just all like.
It just got real when he turns that cap around.
That head goes back. Is officially non-fictional. It's going down. But it was just it was him and Schwarzenegger. They were just like the top. They were like they just set the mold. Like even like me and my friends, we played Contra and like, oh, I want Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can be Rambo. Like we even know the character's real name. We just knew that's Arnold Schwarzenegger and that's gonna be Rambo because that's like every action game modeled themselves after that. And but nowadays you don't really see stuff like that.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Yeah, and like you said, the modern action hero could be the everyday man, and then I guess that was kind of introduced with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
In Die Hard, he was just a LAPD cop. He wasn't ripped or anything.
Right.
But he was a normal guy, and he's in a situation kicking ass.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of what the trend is now. Is you have average-looking dudes, slender builds, who are just kicking ass. Anybody could do it. You don't have to be roided out like Arnold.
Right.
Do you have a favorite, Jordan? A favorite action hero from the 80s, 90s?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch a whole lot back then. I mean, I did watch, Schwarzenegger was probably the one I knew the most and watched the most. I wasn't really raised on Stallone. I didn't see any of the Rambo films. I saw the first Rocky, and that's it. But Schwarzenegger, because I watched Kindergarten Cop, which that's barely an action film, but Schwarzenegger was the name I knew, so that was probably the star.
That's a good example too, though, because it's Arnold's in that movie. People went to see it.
Right.
If you would have put anybody else in that role, no one would give a fuck.
Probably would have been a bomb, Yeah. Schwarzenegger definitely was a recognizable name. I mean, that name is pretty iconic in itself. I mean, it's a rare, weird name in the U.S.
The fact that he's returning back into the genres and with a long hiatus with
with The Last Stand.
Yeah.
And I'm sure to some extent, a lot of people are going to see it just because he's in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you, Sheriff?
Old.
I guess we could talk about when we think that the action hero died, and we'll see if we could try and pinpoint this. And I guess I'll go down with Arnold. 80s, he had tons of hits. I mean, Commando, Predator, Terminator, and then into the 90s, Terminator 2, and then they started becoming less and less successful. I think True Lies was great, and then after that, what do you get, like Eraser?
Yeah.
And after it's
again, it just keeps going.
It's like the mid 90s. He starts to fizzle out.
Yeah.
And what was that one where you had clones?
The Sixth Day or something like
Sixth
that?
Day.
Yeah. And then you had the End of Days also.
End of the Day. That's what I'm trying to think.
They came out around the same time too. So you had End of Days and the Sixth Day around the same time.
Yeah.
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger versus the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, who wins.
Of course, Arnold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Stallone, but okay.
Stallone wins. And then Stallone, he could pinpoint where his career kind of died too, and it was around the same time, maybe a little earlier.
Yeah.
Because I would think the last big one he had was probably Judge Dredd, and even then it was starting to fizzle.
Right.
My mama shoot. Once he started doing that, his stuff was pretty much just going down.
That also had a great movie poster too, because it's just an old woman standing there like that. It's right in front of Stallone, and Stallone's looking at her. I don't know. I remember that poster.
Because I think it actually started dying once they all stopped trying to be like those super macho characters and tried to be funny. Then I think that's when it started just to go down, because they started trying to make those more family-oriented movies, and their core fans were just not really
all the way.
Yeah, it just.
Well, I think that's what killed off the action star from the 80s and 90s, though. And for me, the moment that the action hero, the action star died is actually, ironically enough, Last Action Hero. I think that's when the beginning of the end, because before that, it seemed like there was certain merchandising with certain films, like Terminator 2 had merchandising and stuff like that. But that's an R-rated film. It's not it doesn't really cater to children. It's a Terminator film. But then you take the big name of Schwarzenegger and okay, we want to make it an action film that's accessible to everybody, and we want it to have toys and video games and comic books and spawn a franchise, and that's what you got with Last Action Hero. And unfortunately, it bombed, and so we never saw anything else from it. But
I had those toys.
Right, I had
Burger King cups.
Right, I think I might have the video game. I had toys of Last Action Hero. I mean, everybody did. But it was this whole merchandised out movie that was intended to be a franchise that never happened. And then after that, you saw the kind of the dying of the action hero.
You want to be a farmer? Here's a couple of acres. Decker, next to our herd.
I believe True Lies came after that. I mean, Arnold had that, which was strong. But again, like you said, his career quickly declined after that.
Yeah, and I don't know. Last Action Hero is an interesting one to point out, because it's a movie about breaking the fourth wall with action heroes.
Right.
And it's also one of the movies that's kind of that's when they die. So
yeah.
It's a really ironic choice that you point that out.
Yeah, it was a movie that's probably supposed to revitalize his career, but instead it quickly quickened that descent. So. And
then just to talk more about how action heroes used to sell movies, I want to point out one specifically with Seagal. which was executive decision.
Which
I also had Kurt Russell, but Seagal was in the top billing.
Yeah.
You know, him and Kurt Russell. But Seagal's only in the movie for like 2 minutes. Like he gets in the plane and he dies. That's it. Like.
We're not gonna make it.
But
you see his body go flying.
But I mean, that was the thing, though. People were like, "Oh man, Seagal's in this movie. Let's go check it out." And then they used his name to sell the movie, even if he's only in it for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
you know?
Like Stealth with Jamie Foxx. Yeah, like everybody. Oh, I want to go. He had just won an Oscar for Ray. And everybody, well, I want to go see it. Action is playing. Let's go see it. He dies in a plane crash like 10 minutes of the movie. I saw people get up and leave the theater after that.
Well, they should have.
That movie sucked. I wish I would have joined them.
I
should have joined them.
And if you look at today, I mean, like you said, Statham. I still don't think Statham's a household name.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Or even
say it's a
Sam
household name.
Worthington.
No.
One I would say probably kind of broke the mold with that. It's probably Will Smith.
I didn't even think about
With
that.
his
Yeah.
Summer action franchises.
Because he kept going strong into the to the 2000s. Everything Will Smith put out was a blockbuster for the most part. I mean,
Sadly, Wild Wild West was one of them.
Independence Day, Wild Wild West, Men in Black,
Bad Boys 1 and 2.
Bad Boys 1, 2.
But again, I guess the reason why I didn't even think about that is because his movies blend comedy and action. Also, he didn't look like that prototypical action star. But yeah, I mean, come to think of it, Will Smith probably was the biggest thing we've had since the originals from the 80s.
Yep, and trying to think of others, and I'm coming up, like Vin Diesel had a short run in the early 2000s. They tried to market him as an action guy, and he was. Pitch Black, Fast and the Furious, Knock Around Guys, Triple X.
Ooh.
I mean, there was a string of films from like 2000 to like 2005 where he was just, he was an action man.
Yeah.
And then he fell off the map. Dwayne Johnson, he also had some action movies. What's that one where he was in the jungle?
Oh, the Rundown.
The Rundown, that was entertaining. And
He was in Doom.
Doom.
I like you just listen to all these like real he did Doom as well. It's like
That's probably what started killing his career.
Yeah, probably. And then
That was the pinnacle of his career right there.
And of course, he took the hiatus into the string of children's films because his daughter was, he wanted to do films for his daughter and stuff like that. But he's starting to kind of come back into that action mold and stuff. And I think being that he is The Rock, he's always going to kind of have a strong following for action because he looks like the action star and he can play that action star.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe he is the closest thing we have physically to the old action star.
Yeah.
I mean, back then you had Arnold, Carl Weathers, all these guys, like Predators, like a all-star roundup. I mean, all these guys were buff, cut, and they were action stars,
Because back then, you knew if you had one of those guys in the movie, you knew that one of them was going to somehow get roided up, punch an elephant, and make it explode in the fire or something just miraculous. Like a Commando, Arnold is throwing a circular blade with enough force to cut through somebody's head, not stick in there, just go all the way through. No human can do that, but he could. He flipped a Porsche and ripped the seats out like it was made from IKEA or something. You know what I'm saying?
He was still able to drive it, right?
Exactly. He just leaned down and was like, "Yeah, I got this. Drive." It's just like you can't do that, and nobody ever questioned none of his stuff. It's like you had the thickest Austrian accent, but you're all American.
He was always
American.
Just like Jean-Claude Van Damme is Guile in Street Fighter. The all-American guy with the French's accent. Hey, you're not from Louisiana.
What's great about that is he's like straining the whole time though. He's like, I am Colonel Guile, and it's just like, oh man, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's probably where his career started to die too.
Probably so.
Van
Yeah.
Damme.
He did that movie with
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman.
Double
Thank
team.
you. You were
Double
in my head.
team. I love Rodman. He's my all-time favorite player, but I never saw that movie.
Oh, I saw it. I was like, what am I watching?
Mickey Rourke's in that too, right?
Yes, he was.
Oh man, talk about another guy who could have been a big action star who kind
He
of
missed his right to it. He was always on the sidelines of being the action hero.
right, and he never quite got to that.
Yeah.
Go back to Stallone. I don't know. Stallone's a great. He did some great things. And Demolition Man in the '90s. I always thought that was a fun film. I don't know. They don't make him like that. And they put him up against Stallone as a villain. So I don't know. It was a fun film.
From another time.
Pass is over, John. Time for something new and improved.
Oh, hell.
So Janelle, what is your favorite action movie?
Guilty pleasure to it. He's not exactly an American action movie star, but made me ride my bike to go see it in the movie theaters was Jackie Chan's Rumble in the Bronx. That's my go-to movie for any kind of action kind of deal.
Were you living in Jersey at the time?
Yeah, I was living in Jersey.
Oh, so it's pretty close to home then.
It was, even though it wasn't shot there.
Right, I know, I understand that, but it's just the subject matter.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, Demolition Man was always fun to watch. Sometimes I could quote out all the lines to it. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do.
That's a resume building trait there.
Yeah. Has not got me anywhere.
How about you, Alex?
I would probably have to say the Predator franchise. Like when I was from like the 1 and 2, like even though 2 was not the best, like I just still loved it because I kind of felt like Predator was like kind of hunting his own people with like the Jamaicans with the dreadlocks, you know. It was like he had the one showdown with the dude with the sword. I'm like, I wanted to see that, but I usually saw this dude just with his dome cut off, you know, and Predator just holding him by the locks, like, you know. But yeah, but Predator was probably my favorite one, just because just even like the way the alien looked, and just you had like all these big action guys. You had Jesse the Body Ventura in the first one, Bill Duke, Carl Weathers. It was just so much steroids. You could have been a woman and gone to see that movie and came out with balls. Like
Sweaty, jiggling muscles.
Just all the testosterone in that movie, and it was good. Like I wish that's what I was hoping for with the Expendables. I was hoping that would have jump started more with that, but when the second one came out and kind of tanked, I think that kind of killed, like the second killing in all their careers. I think.
We're gonna get a third one, so.
Oh, I don't know. It's better have some Carl Weathers in that one, man.
Oh, damn straight, yeah.
I hope so.
JC's gonna be in it.
I hope he makes a pot of stew too, like he did in Arrested Development. Like, hey, you gonna use that bone?
Make a stew with that.
What was your favorite?
I wasn't raised on 80s action stuff like that. It was just my dad was more into comedies and dramas and stuff like that. But years after the fact, I was able to watch Die Hard, and so Die Hard is probably my favorite action film from the 80s and 90s. I can watch that over and over and over again. In fact, during Christmas when they were playing it, I watched it, you know. And Die Hard just works for me. It's got an iconic villain. It's got the right amount of realistic action. You know, again, it's more realistic every man, so I enjoy that. So
I would have said Predator, but to be different, I'm going to lay another one out there. I think the Lethal Weapon films are underrated, especially 1 and 2. I think the buddy cop genre, that to me, that's the best buddy cop movie, Lethal Weapon. You know, you had Mel Gibson kicking ass and Danny Glover complaining about it. It was great.
When did Pesci jump in?
Pesci came in 2.
Okay.
I thought it was 3.
No, he came in 2.
You're right. He did come in 2.
Yeah.
Quick! Change the channel!
That's going to wrap us up for today, guys. Join us next time when we talk about superior movie sequels. And as always, feel free to follow us at Ultness on Twitter and visit us at ultness.com. Until then, why don't you watch some 80s movies, huh? You can pop that in. What you gonna watch this week?
The Quest.
The Quest?
Nice. I do want to watch Street Fighter again, though. I really, really
I have that on Blu-ray.
I know, we have it
I
on
bought it
Blu-ray.
for you on Blu-ray.
I know.
I want to watch that tonight. Like, I've just had this feeling. Wait, no, I got Skyrim to play. Never mind, that's not happening.
It's like Skyrim, Street Fighter.
Skyrim.
If you would have chose Street Fighter over that, I would have had to.
Quick,
have to
change
talk
the
with
channel.
Change the channel.
Every time someone watches Street Fighter, Raul Julia turns in his grave. That's what happens.
No, what was it? I was watching this video online the other night where some like the pro players like Chris G and they're playing the Street Fighter, the movie game.
Oh yeah.
And they were going at it, and they were like, "What the hell?" It was like because Sagat had one move where he would lift up his eye patch, and it was
shoot a laser?
Yeah, some weird thing, and the person gets stunned. I'm like,
How was it?
It was
terrible.
ass.
Was it developed by Capcom?
No.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. It wasn't.
It was published by them, though, right?
Yeah. It was still under their license.